Picture this, a world-famous rock star walks into a luxury hotel, looking a little worse for wear after a grueling day, only to have the snooty clerk treat him like a bum off the street and demand he prove who he is or get out. But when his powerhouse wife steps up with undeniable proof, the tables turn in a way that'll have you cheering. Stick around for the wild, true story of Ozzy Osbourne and Sharon's epic comeback that left everyone stunned. You know how it is when you've had a long day traveling, especially if you're in the music biz like Ozzy Osbourne back in the day. He and his wife Sharon had just flown into London, dealing with jet lag and a sound check that ran way too long. The rain was pouring down outside the Grand Kensington Hotel, one of those fancy spots with chandeliers and velvet everything, and all Ozzy wanted was a quiet room to crash in. Ozzy wasn't looking his polished best that night, long hair tangled from the flight, tattoos peeking out from under his leather jacket, and those signature round purple sunglasses perched on his face. He plopped down in a comfy armchair in the lobby, fiddling with a thread on his jeans while Sharon handled the check-in. She was all business in her sharp black suit, red hair perfect as always, ready to get them settled into the presidential suite they'd booked weeks ago. But the night manager, this guy named Reginald with a thin mustache and a suit that screamed, "Better than you," wasn't having it. He looked over at Ozzy like he was some scruffy stranger who wandered in off the street, not the Prince of Darkness himself. Reginald checked the computer, shook his head, and told Sharon flat out there was no reservation under Osbourne. And oh, by the way, the hotel was fully booked. No room for them at all. Sharon stayed calm at first, repeating the confirmation number she'd memorized, but Reginald just doubled down, saying maybe they should try a cheaper place down the road. He kept glancing at Ozzy, wrinkling his nose like the rock star was dirtying up the place just by sitting there. It was clear what was going on, judgment based on looks, pure and simple, the kind of thing that happens to folks who don't fit the respectable mold. Ozzy sensed the vibe and got up, walking over to the desk with his jewelry clinking softly. He leaned in and said he didn't want trouble, just a bed for the night. He'd even take a broom closet if that's all they had, and money wasn't an issue. But Reginald recoiled like Ozzy had cooties, telling him to step back because he was soiling the wood of the counter. Can you believe that? A guy who sold millions of albums, headlined massive tours, getting treated like trash. Sharon's eyes narrowed, but she didn't blow up yet. She's always been the strategic one in the family. Reginald threatened to call the cops if they didn't leave, saying their presence was bothering the other guests. It was humiliating, especially for someone like Ozzy who's faced his share of ups and downs in life, from Black Sabbath days to his wild reality TV fame. This wasn't about a mix-up. It was straight-up prejudice against anyone who looks a bit rough. You have to understand Ozzy's background to get why this stung so much. He grew up poor in Birmingham, England, working factory jobs before hitting it big with Sabbath in the 70s. Songs like Iron Man and Paranoid made him a legend, but he's always been that down-to-earth guy, not some polished celeb. Sharon, on the other hand, came from music royalty. Her dad managed bands like Electric Light Orchestra, so she knows the industry inside out and how to navigate snobs like Reginald. As the tension built, Ozzy sat back down, watching Sharon handle it, knowing she had that fire in her. She's not just his wife. She's his manager, his protector, the one who pulled him through addictions and career lows. Remember the Osbournes show on MTV? It showed their real family life, chaos and all, making them relatable to millions of Americans just like you, dealing with everyday battles. Reginald kept pushing, insisting they vacate the lobby immediately, his voice getting snootier by the second. Sharon asked if he was serious, and he nodded, arms crossed like he owned the place. It was a classic case of judging a book by its cover. Ozzy might look scruffy, but he's worth millions with a legacy that spans decades. How many times have you felt judged for your appearance, maybe at a job interview or a nice restaurant? Ozzy whispered to Sharon to let it go, maybe find another hotel, but she shook her head. No way was she letting this slide. She's fought bigger battles, like when she managed Ozzy's solo career after Sabbath, turning him into a solo superstar with albums like Blizzard of Oz. Her toughness comes from years in the cutthroat music world, where you have to stand up for yourself or get walked over. The lobby was quiet except for the rain pattering on the windows, a few other guests sneaking glances. Reginald picked up the phone, pretending to dial security, but Sharon stopped him with a cold smile. She said fine, she'd make a call too, and that's when things started shifting. Ozzy knew that look. It was the same one she had when negotiating multi-million deals or defending their family in the press. To really appreciate this moment, think about Sharon's life story. Born in London, she moved to the U.S. with Ozzy, building an empire that includes Ozfest, the massive metal festival that brought bands like Slipknot and System of a Down to huge audiences. She's a survivor, beating cancer in the early 2000s, which made her even stronger. Americans love underdog stories, and this was shaping up to be one. Reginald smirked, thinking she was bluffing, but Sharon reached right over the counter and grabbed the hotel's fancy rotary phone. He tried to stop her, sputtering about not touching it, but she swatted his hand away like a fly. "Don't touch me and don't interrupt," she hissed, dialing a number from memory. Ozzy chuckled quietly from his chair. This was going to be good. She changed her tone instantly when the call connected, all warm and friendly, saying it was Sharon Osbourne calling late, sorry to wake them. Reginald's face started to change. He realized this wasn't some random call. Sharon mentioned the Grand Kensington, the £40 million renovation last year. How beautiful it was, dropping hints that she knew the big boss. Ozzy leaned back, sipping imaginary tea, enjoying the show. He's always said Sharon's the real rock star in the family, handling everything from finances to feuds. Remember her time on The Talk or America's Got Talent? She's quick-witted, no-nonsense, perfect for turning a bad situation around. This incident highlights why they're such an iconic couple, married since 1982 despite all the rock and roll drama. Sharon explained the whole mess to the person on the line. No room despite the reservation, being told to leave, Ozzy accused of soiling the counter. She even asked Reginald his name again, repeating it loudly into the phone. His eyes bugged out. He knew now she was talking to someone important. Maybe the owner himself, Sir Charles Hennessy, a big shot in the hotel world. The color drained from Reginald's face as Sharon handed him the receiver, saying sweetly, "It's for you." He took it with shaking hands, whispering hello. And then, boom, the yelling from the other end was so loud Ozzy could hear it across the lobby. Reginald stammered, "Yes, sir. No, sir, I didn't know, like a kid caught stealing cookies." This turnaround was classic Sharon, using connections built over years in entertainment. Think about how many Americans in their 30s, 40s, or older remember watching the Osbournes, laughing at their antics while seeing the real love underneath. Stories like this remind us that even celebrities face everyday prejudices, making them more human. After the call, Reginald looked like he'd seen a ghost, handing the phone back with a bow. Sharon thanked the caller. Turns out it was Sir Charles's assistant, but close enough, and hung up. The lobby fell silent, rain still falling outside, but the power had shifted completely. Ozzy stood up, stretching, telling Sharon she was terrifying in the best way. Reginald cleared his throat, voice cracking, admitting a terrible error with a computer. Suddenly, their reservation appeared, but wait, Sir Charles insisted they get the royal penthouse instead, free of charge, with 24/7 kitchen access. The royal penthouse? That's the top floor, reserved for kings and presidents, way bigger than what they'd booked. You can imagine Ozzy's grin. He's been through wilder things, like biting the head off a bat on stage by accident. But this hotel drama was a new level of absurdity. Sharon nodded like it was no big deal, then told Reginald to fetch Ozzy some tea Earl Grey, 2 sugars, right now. The guy practically jumped over the desk and ran to the kitchen, all his snootiness gone. This chapter of the story shows how quick judgments can backfire big time, especially when you mess with the wrong couple. Ozzy and Sharon have inspired generations with their resilience, from his music influencing bands like Metallica to her business savvy. For folks in the U.S., it's a reminder that standing up for yourself pays off, no matter your age or background. The general manager showed up next, half dressed in a tux over pajamas, apologizing like crazy. He called them royalty, which isn't far off. Ozzy's the godfather of heavy metal, after all. Staff swarmed in, grabbing bags, offering towels, treating them like VIPs they always were. Reginald trailed behind with the tea tray, hand shaking so bad the cup rattled. Ozzy sipped the tea, saying it wasn't bad but a bit hot, while Sharon watched with satisfaction. They headed to the private elevator, leaving Reginald defeated. Before the doors closed, Ozzy poked his head out and yelled, "Nice wood. I'll try not to soil it," tapping the panel with a laugh. Classic Ozzy humor, the kind that endears him to fans across America. Arriving at the penthouse, it was massive. Windows overlooking London, grand piano, fireplace roaring. Ozzy tossed his jacket on a fancy sofa, sinking into the rug, declaring this was real rock roll. Sharon looked out at the rain, admitting fights like that take a toll, even when you win. They've faced worse, like Ozzy's health battles with Parkinson's, but they always come out stronger. AZ hugged her, calling her the Real heavy metal in a suit. She laughed, kicking off her heels, asking him to play the piano. He sat down and played a soft Mozart piece, not his usual riff, showing the gentle side behind the legend. It's moments like these that make their stories so engaging for mature audiences who appreciate depth beyond the headlines. The manager knocked with champagne, compliments of the house, and asked about Reginald's fate. Sharon decided to let him keep his job, but with a twist. Every future stay, he'd deliver their dog's food on a silver platter. The manager agreed, bowing out. Ozzy popped the cork. Well, Sharon did after he fumbled, and they toasted to knowing who to call. This incident isn't just funny. It's a lesson in not judging people by appearances. Ozzy's career spans over 50 years, selling 100 million albums, inducting into the Rock Hall twice, once with Sabbath, once solo. Sharon's equally impressive, authoring books, hosting shows, surviving everything thrown at her. For Americans 25 to 65 plus, it's relatable. Many have faced similar snubs at work or in life. Expanding on their legacy, Ozzy's influence on American culture is huge, from Ozfest tours across the U.S. to cameos in movies like Little Nicky. Sharon's candidness about family struggles resonates with boomers and Gen Zers dealing with aging parents or health issues. This hotel story adds to their mythos, showing teamwork in marriage. Remember when Ozzy was fired from Black Sabbath in 1979? Sharon believed in him, launching his solo career with hits like Crazy Train. That's the same belief she showed at the hotel, unwavering support. It's why they're still together after all these years, inspiring couples everywhere. The rain kept falling as they sipped champagne, the city lights twinkling below. Ozzy played another tune, filling the room with melody. Sharon closed her eyes, relaxing at last.